What if I told you? Modern football is built on players. Most fans misunderstand today. Not forgotten. Not overrated. Misunderstood. The roles you see every weekend were invented long before the internet noticed. Football doesn't always forget greatness. Sometimes it misunderstands it. Careers become headlines. Moments become labels. And legacies, built over years of intelligence and sacrifice, are reduced to a single story. Roles get copied, but the minds that created them fade away. Moments get replayed, while meaning gets lost. The game keeps moving forward. Faster, louder, simpler, and the pioneers. They slowly become footnotes in the history they helped write. But look closer. Behind modern tactics, behind positional systems, behind viral clips and endless debates, are players whose ideas still breathe inside today's football. Their influence didn't disappear. It evolved. Hi, this is Iconic Era Football, and this is Part 4, 5 icons remembered incorrectly, even though the modern game still depends on their ideas. Claude Makélélé. The role became famous. The man became forgotten. They named a position after him, but rarely told the story of the player who made it necessary. Makélélé wasn't defensive. He was essential. At Real Madrid's Galacticos era, the world watched Zidane's elegance, Figo's creativity, Ronaldo's brilliance, and Beckham's crosses. But behind the glamour stood balance. While others attacked, Makélélé calculated risk. He closed passing lanes before danger appeared, recovered possession before panic began, restored structure when chaos threatened control. He didn't slow the game. He stabilized it. Football intelligence without applause. Then came the decision. That changed modern football. In 2003, Real Madrid sold him. A quiet transfer, almost unnoticed. But suddenly, Madrid lost equilibrium. Goals arrived. Control disappeared. The stars remained, but the system collapsed. Because football learned a painful truth. Talent wins moments. Balance wins eras. Chelsea understood. Jose Mourinho built his revolution around Makélélé's discipline. Premier League titles followed. Defensive dominance emerged. An empire formed from structure, not spectacle. The invisible work that wins championships. He didn't chase glory. He enabled it. Every interception was prevention. Every simple pass was control. Every movement was intelligence disguised as simplicity. Today, analysts praise the holding midfielder. Commentators celebrate tactical balance. But long before analytics explained it, Makélélé lived it. He retired in 2011. At 38, today at 51, he mentors midfielders, shapes young professionals, and teaches a lesson football still struggles to learn. You don't notice greatness when it removes problems before they exist. Football copied his role, but intelligence cannot be replicated. Jay-Jay Okocha. So good, they named him twice. Not because statistics demanded it, but because joy did. Before football became systems, before data defined greatness, there were players who played to make people feel something. Okocha was one of them. The ball didn't obey him. It danced with him. Stepovers flowed like music. Turns arrived without warning. Defenders didn't just lose possession. They lost balance, confidence, and sometimes dignity. He played with freedom, in a game that was slowly becoming controlled. At Eintracht Frankfurt, one goal against Karlsruhe turned into legend, a dribble so outrageous. It forced even opposing fans to stand and applaud. At Paris Saint-Germain, he became artistry in motion. But it was at Bolton Wanderers where his influence became unforgettable. A global superstar, choosing a struggling Premier League club. Not for headlines, for football. He didn't just help Bolton survive, he transformed belief. Children came to stadiums early just to watch warm-ups, because even practice felt like a performance. He smiled while playing, and that smile mattered, because football once allowed individuality, imperfection, improvisation. Okocha represented a version of the game, where creativity wasn't restricted by structure. But football changed. Systems tightened. Pressing intensified. Efficiency replaced expression. Risk became unacceptable. Entertainment became secondary. The game grew faster, and somehow colder. Players like Okocha didn't disappear. The environment changed around them. He retired in 2008, not defined by trophies alone, but by memories impossible to quantify. Today, at 50, his legacy lives in every street footballer who still plays without fear. Because statistics measure productivity, but joy measures impact. Football didn't lose players like Okocha by accident. It evolved past the space, where imagination once lived. And somewhere along the way, the game stopped smiling. Patrick Kluivert, a striker born at the wrong moment in football history. Too technical for the old game, too physical for the new one, and caught perfectly between eras. At just 18 years old, he scored the winning goal in the 1995 UEFA Champions League final for Ajax. A teenager deciding Europe's biggest night. Calm, composed, unafraid of history. He wasn't supposed to peak so early, but expectations arrived faster than time could prepare him. Kluivert was not a traditional number 9. He didn't live only inside the penalty box. He dropped deep, linked play, created space before modern football gave it a name. A forward who thought like a midfielder. At Barcelona, under Louis van Gaal, he became the centerpiece of a new attacking identity. Goals came consistently. La Liga title, hundreds of appearances, crucial strikes in decisive moments. Yet recognition never matched production. Because football was changing. The old game wanted pure finishers. The new game demanded relentless pressing. Kluivert existed in the transition and misunderstood by both. Too elegant to be called powerful, too strong to be called artistic. Critics measured inconsistency. Teammates understood intelligence. For the Netherlands, he became one of the nation's greatest scorers. Euro 2000, 5 goals, Golden Boot. But memory rarely tells the full story. Football remembers extremes, not balance. He retired in 2008, at 32, earlier than expected for a player whose understanding of space aged beautifully. Today, at 48, Kluivert works within football's next generation. Coach, mentor, developer of attacking intelligence. Because some players aren't ahead of their time. They simply arrive when the game hasn't decided what it wants yet. Timing creates legends, and sometimes timing hides them. Luis García, not the loudest name, not the biggest star, but when the stakes rose, he appeared. Some players build careers on consistency. Others build legends on moments. Luis García lived for the moments. At Liverpool, during the mid-2000s revival, he became football's unexpected protagonist. Not faster than everyone, not stronger than defenders, just fearless when pressure arrived. The 2005 Champions League run changed everything. Quarterfinals, semifinals, final. Every round demanded a hero. And somehow, he kept finding the decisive touch. Against Juventus, brilliance. Against Chelsea, controversy and immortality. A goal still debated today. Did it cross the line? Maybe, maybe not. But history remembers impact, not measurements. Liverpool reached Istanbul, and football witnessed one of the greatest finals ever played. While others received headlines, García delivered belief. He scored when games froze, moved when defenders hesitated, thrived when fear controlled everyone else. Managers trusted him in chaos. Because certain players don't need rhythm. They create it. He wasn't built for weekly statistics. He was built for decisive nights, domestic cups, European glory, unforgettable moments stitched into football memory. He retired in 2016, at 38. Today, García remains close to the game. Coach, ambassador, storyteller of a miracle generation. Some players dominate seasons. Others haunt history. Luis García wasn't everywhere. But when football needed a ghost, he appeared. Samuel Eto'o. Before the jokes, before the internet clips, before the memes, there was dominance. Pure, relentless dominance. Eto'o wasn't just a striker. He was a system breaker. Speed, precision, ruthlessness in front of goal. Defenders didn't mark him. They survived him. At Barcelona, during one of football's greatest eras, he was the spearhead of revolution. Champions League winner, La Liga titles, goals in finals when pressure crushed others. Paris, 2006. Barcelona needed a response. Eto'o delivered. Again. Then came Guardiola's transformation of football itself. Possession, movement, control. And still Eto'o adapted. Because greatness adjusts before systems change. Many stars faded during tactical evolution. Eto'o evolved with it. Then came Inter Milan. A new country, a new role, a new sacrifice. Under Jose Mourinho, he abandoned ego, tracked back, defended wide areas, ran for the team. A superstar choosing discipline over spotlight. The reward, the historic 2010 treble. Champions League, Serie A, Coppa Italia. 2 trebles, 2 clubs, 1 unstoppable mentality. Africa's greatest football ambassador. 4-time African Player of the Year. A symbol of belief for an entire continent. Yet over time, memory simplified him. Personality overshadowed performance. Soundbites replaced achievements. Football reduced a giant into entertainment. But trophies don't laugh. History doesn't forget results. He retired in 2019, at 38. Today, at 44, Eto'o leads football from another position. Administrator, Federation President, architect of the sport's future in Africa. Because some players don't just win eras. They reshape what comes after. Samuel Eto'o was never a meme. He was a standard. Football doesn't always forget greatness. Sometimes it misunderstands it. Roles get copied. Moments get simplified. Legacies get reduced to headlines that never tell the full story. But influence doesn't disappear. It hides. In tactics, coaches still teach. In movements, players repeat without knowing who invented them. In systems built on ideas these men mastered first. Makélélé taught balance. Okocha reminded football that joy matters. Kluivert existed between 2 generations that never fully understood him. García lived for moments others feared. And Samuel Eto'o proved greatness adapts, even when recognition doesn't. The modern game moves faster, louder, more statistical. But its foundation still belongs to thinkers, creators, and pioneers like these. Because football evolves, but truth waits patiently. And sooner or later, history corrects itself. This story isn't finished. Part 5 is coming next. And the next icons might surprise you even more. Players remembered for one moment, when their real legacy was much bigger. So if you love football beyond highlights, subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with iconic era football. Because the game doesn't remember itself. We do, and the forgotten legends are still waiting to be understood. Thanks for watching. See you in the next era. Bye.